A nation infiltrated, a youth violated. The hard truth of our immigration system. On September 23rd, I embarked on a journey of discovery, immersing myself in the intricate narrative of Tara Rodas and her brave act of whistleblowing. Her revelations have led me to dedicate countless hours to researching the system responsible for the care and management of unaccompanied immigrant children. This journey, though lengthy, has equipped me with the knowledge to paint a vivid portrait of this system. It enables us to identify the points where our influence and pressure can bring about meaningful change. In our pursuit of justice and reform, we must not allow these matters to go unnoticed. To effect change, we must first understand the system we seek to mend. Without comprehension, our actions lack direction, and our efforts to apply necessary pressure become futile. Patriots, it is imperative that we unite and harness the power of our collective will to bring about change. The time for action is now, and the pressure we exert today may shape the future we envision. To embark on this comprehensive exploration, we must first grasp the intricate web of agencies involved in this narrative. Our journey begins by examining the source of financial sustenance. Initially, funds flow from Congress, which allocates resources for immigration and border enforcement, including the care of unaccompanied immigrant children. Notably, in 2021, the Office of Refugee Reintegration received a substantial $1.4 billion, setting the stage for our deeper understanding. The narrative then shifts to the Department of Homeland Security, where Customs and Border Protection and Immigration and Customs Enforcement play pivotal roles in encounters with immigrants, whether children or adults. From there, we delve into the realms of the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Justice, and the Department of State, setting the stage for the intricate operations within this labyrinthine structure. But our narrative doesn't conclude with government entities alone. It extends into the domain of non-governmental organizations, or NGOs. Herein lies a pantheon of 9 primary NGOs, each with its unique responsibilities. Beyond this select group, countless sub-NGOs contribute to the intricate tapestry of operations. It is through this symphony of entities that the tale of unaccompanied immigrant children unfolds. The beginning. The child's inaugural encounter with the United States is a poignant entry point, one marked by apprehension and the commencement of initial processing. It is within this intricately woven tapestry that we find ourselves immersed, navigating the labyrinthine journey of unaccompanied children within the United States. This journey, a complex and multifaceted odyssey, unfolds under the guardianship of a constellation of statutes, regulations, and court decisions, most notably among them the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act of 2008, the Flores Settlement Agreement, and the Homeland Security Act of 2002. These pillars of governance cast their shadow over the proceedings, shaping the path forward. The procedure, an orchestration involving a symphony of governmental agencies with the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Health and Human Services taking center stage, is an intricate melody that beckons us to truly comprehend its depth and intricacy. As the unaccompanied child crosses the border, an act fraught with profound implications, devoid of authorization, the mantle of responsibility falls upon the shoulders of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, a sub-agency of the Department of Homeland Security. In this crucible of transition, CBP officers undertake the solemn duty of initial processing, a ritual that encompasses background checks, meticulous identification, and the delicate screening of health. It is a moment ensconced in the tapestry of law, a moment where time and urgency converge. By the edicts of law, CBP is entrusted with the task of transferring the child to the Office of Refugee Resettlement within a span of 72 hours. A resolute mandate, though exceptions may arise amidst the tumult of high traffic periods or under the veiled cloak of unusual circumstances, in the balance of these intricate proceedings, we glimpse the convergence of law, humanity, and the passage of lives across borders. The conditions within these holding spaces in their current state stand far removed from the realm of idealism, particularly when considered in the context of a child's vulnerability. In the forthcoming discourse, we shall delve into the sobering observations made by whistleblowers. Yet, before we embark on this introspective journey, let us first illuminate the path that leads the child into guardianship of the Office of Refugee Resettlement, nestled within the expansive tapestry of the Department of Health and Human Services. It is within the embrace of this department that the child finds solace, as custody is tenderly assumed. A choice then unfolds, one that designates the child to a shelter, ensconced either with a government facility or under the purview of a contracted shelter, most often the latter. Here, the watchful gaze of the Flores Settlement Agreement casts its ethereal light, stipulating a mosaic of standards that these facilities must uphold. These standards encompass not only access to education, but also the provision of legal services and the solemn commitment to administer medical care. In this nuanced tapestry, a case management individual emerges as a guiding beacon, entrusted with the profound task of assessing the child's circumstance while simultaneously exploring potential sponsorship options within the vast expanse of the United States. It is a poignant juncture in the child's journey, one that merits introspection, for throughout this voyage on American soil, within the land renowned for its valor and freedom, the child's mental well-being remains in uncharted territory, a chasm that yearns for acknowledgement. The convoluted realm of legal proceedings and sponsorship unfolds before us as a canvas awaiting refinement. It is in this crucible of exploration that we encounter the revelations witnessed by the whistleblower, Tara Rodas. Let us be reminded that within this narrative, it is not the inherent nature of the individuals that stands accused, nor the notion of inherent innocence. Rather, it beckons us to confront a poignant truth, a truth that echoes with the resonance of the state's creations, a product of our collective existence. Before we advance further, it is incumbent upon us to delve into these revelations, for they bear profound significance in our continued exploration of this intricate journey. The broken system. The broken system, when I initially encountered the profound disintegration of our institutional framework concerning unaccompanied immigrant children, I was rendered momentarily speechless, overtaken by shock and indignation. Such occurrences should be anathema to the principles upon which our system is predicated, yet they manifest with disconcerting frequency. The labyrinthine nature of the issue makes it challenging to isolate specific sectors, corporations, or NGOs as culprits. In our ensuing discourse, we scrutinize one or two of the 9 NGOs involved, not to indict them, but to highlight their expansive influence within this intricate system. The child's transition into the Office of Refugee Resettlement, a domain within the Department of Health and Human Services, ushers forth a disconcerting reality. Often, the shelter assigned to embrace these young souls stands as a testament to the imperfections that mar the tapestry of care. In this liminal space, a case manager takes up their mantle. Their plaintive echoes of whistleblowers reveal the flaws that permeate this triad. Within this mosaic, the Department of Health and Human Services reveals a concerning truth. Its vigilance is not as resolute as it should be. As whistleblowers' voices resonate, the absence of DNA testing within this milieu casts a long shadow, a glaring omission amidst the intricate threads of the system. The shelters themselves, beset by overcrowding and neglect, stand as harbingers of a disconcerting truth, corroborated by whistleblowers and voices raised in complaint. Yet, it's the case manager, the custodian of fragile destinies, who emerges as an emblem of unpreparedness. Unversed, untrained, and lacking the wisdom and education to traverse the labyrinth of trauma, they stand as a stark reminder of the inadequacies that taint the system's soul. In this contemplative realm, we are compelled to confront the flaws within this tripartite structure. Pondering how a system meant to protect can inadvertently perpetuate suffering is a poignant caveat. I urge you to bear in mind the staggering statistics and alleged transgressions illuminated by whistleblowers Tara Rodas and Carlos just a month prior. These revelations serve as ethical imperatives that compel us to scrutinize the system with a discerning eye. They beckon us to question not only the mechanics of our institutions, but also the moral underpinnings that should guide them. Infractions and crimes. 1. Child exploitation. Unaccompanied minors are subjected to labor and sexual exploitation. 2. Deplorable living conditions. Children are living in conditions that lack basic sanitation. 3. Retaliation against whistleblowers. Tara Rodas faced retaliation for her protected disclosure. 4. Labor trafficking. Minors are forced to work in poultry facilities, abattoirs, and cereal production facilities. Sex trafficking. A teenager disclosed sexual exploitation by her so-called aunt, who was her sponsor. 6. Criminal infiltration. You know what? I'm going to screw that. 12:30. Sex trafficking. 5. Sex trafficking. A teenager disclosed sexual exploitation by her so-called aunt, who was her sponsor. 6. Criminal infiltration. Members of Transnational Organized Crime Watching List, the TOC, including gangs like MS-13, have infiltrated the UC program as sponsors. 7. Inadequate vetting. Criminal networks have been able to complete government paperwork to assume custody of minors. 8. Obstruction of justice. HHS initiated actions to stifle whistleblowing efforts, including directives against sharing detailed case information. 9. Public shaming. HHS attempted to publicly shame Tara Rodas for her whistleblowing activities. 10. Lack of transparency and accountability. Taxpayer dollars are being funneled into a system rife with child trafficking, sexual exploitation, and slave labor. Statistics. 1. 12 days. Time it took to identify Tara Rodas as the whistleblower. 2. Since 2014. Cycle of abuse has been ongoing. 3. August 2021. Aaron Stevens' revelations marked a seminal moment. 4. $700 million. Cost of the Pomona Fairplex contract for 6 months. 5. 85,000 children. Estimated number of missing children. 6. Thousands. Number of children who have reported abuse, neglect, or trafficking. 7. 2,300 daily. Daily figure of missing children based on various missions, including Pomona and Fairfax. The journey to nowhere. The journey to nowhere. Let us reflect profoundly on the odyssey these children have undertaken thus far. The contours of their journey reveal stark realities. An environment bereft of basic sanitation, personnel ill-equipped for their care, and a lack of accountability. In this enigmatic tableau, the child remains adrift, untethered to familial bonds, ensnared within the confines of a holding station. The forthcoming chapter of their journey unfolds like a haunting melody. We encounter the voice of another whistleblower, Carlos, a soul of courage and virtue, a torchbearer where many chose shadows over their morality, prioritizing their roles over the sanctity of young lives. These children, entrusted to transportation teams, embark on a perilous voyage beyond our nation's geographical boundaries. They traverse the land within private planes, commercial aircraft, and nondescript vans. Their destinies, intertwined with sponsors whims, stand at a precipice, yet the veracity of these sponsors remain a vexing enigma, unchecked and unverified, with shadows of criminals, gang members, and those unprepared for guardianship over a child looming large. In this symphony of uncertainty, paperwork remains untouched. Meticulous organization appears as a mirage. The unsettling statistic of 85,000 missing children compels us to question the essence of our system. Where have they vanished to? It's a reflection that prompts us to peer into the abyss, acknowledging the myriad dimensions of this narrative, each as intricate and profound as the next. As we continue to delve into the labyrinthine tapestry of this narrative, our gaze turns toward the non-governmental organizations that populate this complex landscape. We shall unravel the intricacies of their operations, examining their services, contracts, and dispersion across the United States. What lies before me leaves me profoundly disquieted. The operation we uncover surpasses the boundaries of my initial apprehensions. It's a revelation that extends beyond mere anticipation, a glimpse into colossal machinery that appears to dwarf our preconceived notions of scope and scale. As we pivot toward the next phase of our exploration, it's crucial to reaffirm the purpose of our journey, an unwavering commitment to comprehending the system in its entirety. To study the system isn't an endorsement of its merits or a condemnation of its flaws. I think condemnation. Instead, it signifies our determination to fathom its intricacies, to illuminate the pathways toward reform, or, in certain cases, the compelling argument for its dissolution. When contemplating the dismantling of any facet, reason and unassailable points are our arsenal to advocate for its removal. Let's begin with the Office of Refugee Resettlement. The Office of Refugee Resettlement. The Office of Refugee Resettlement is a federal agency under the Administration for Children and Families. Part of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the ORR aids refugees and other eligible populations, helping them achieve self-sufficiency and integration into American society. The ORR is a federal agency under the Administration for Children and Families, which itself is part of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The ORR is responsible for aiding refugees and other eligible populations to help them achieve self-sufficiency and integration into American society. Purpose and functions. 1. Initial medical screening and surveillance. Comprehensive medical screenings are conducted to identify and treat health and mental health conditions that may adversely impact a refugee's ability to achieve self-sufficiency. 2. Ongoing health care. The ORR coordinates efforts to ensure that the ongoing health needs of refugees and other ORR-served populations are met, including administering refugee medical assistance benefits and addressing gaps in health coverage. 3. Health education. The ORR promotes health, enhancing behaviors, and supports refugees to make informed decisions regarding their health and mental health needs. 4. Partnership and outreach. The ORR collaborates with community, ethnic-based, and other local organizations to ensure the sustainability of refugee health services. Target population. The ORR serves refugees, asylees, and other eligible populations, including Afghan parolees. These populations often come from backgrounds of conflict, migration, and resettlement, and may have experienced nutritional deprivation, water contamination, inadequate living conditions, and a lack of access to basic medical and dental care. Challenges and solutions. The ORR faces challenges related to lack of familiar foods, changes in physical activity levels, and navigating the U.S. healthcare system for the populations it serves. To address these, the ORR has created the Division of Refugee Health to work with refugee health coordinators to meet the medical and mental health service needs of incoming populations. The ORR is supposed to play a crucial role in the resettlement process, focusing on health as a key component of successful integration and self-sufficiency. It should operate under a holistic approach that includes initial medical screenings, ongoing health care, health education, and partnerships. Unaccompanied Immigrant Children Program, a comprehensive overview. Introduction. The Unaccompanied Immigrant Children Program is a federal initiative in the United States administered by the Office of Refugee Resettlement. A division of the Department of Health and Human Services, this program is designed to address the complex needs of minors who arrive in the country without a parent or legal guardian. Ideally, the program is supposed to provide the following key components. 1. Identification and processing. Upon their arrival, these minors are initially processed by agents from the Department of Homeland Security. The initial phase involves not just identification, but also a comprehensive set of procedures, including biometric data collection, preliminary health screenings, and the initiation of immigration proceedings. The aim is to ensure that each child's unique circumstances are understood, thereby facilitating more personalized care and legal assistance. 2. Temporary shelter. After this initial processing, the children are transferred to temporary shelters managed by the ORR. These shelters serve as more than mere holding facilities. They are equipped to provide a range of services, including medical care, psychological counseling, and basic education. The environment is designed to be a haven where the children can regain a sense of normalcy while their legal status is being determined. 3. Legal assistance. Legal navigation in the U.S. immigration system is a complex task requiring specialized knowledge. The ORR provides legal services to help these children understand their rights and the immigration process. Legal experts work in conjunction with case managers to ensure that each child's case is handled with the utmost care and attention to detail. Family reunification. One of the primary objectives of the program is family reunification. The ORR conducts thorough background checks on the potential sponsors, usually family members already residing in the U.S., and provides post-release services to ensure the child's well-being and to facilitate a smooth transition into a more permanent living situation. Case management. Each child in the program is assigned a case manager who acts as a central point of contact for all matters concerning the child's welfare. This case manager coordinates a multitude of services from healthcare to education and legal assistance. Their role is pivotal in ensuring the child's various needs are met in a timely and effective manner. Legal framework. The program operates under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It is designed to care for unaccompanied children who are apprehended while crossing the U.S. border. These children are placed in HHS shelters and are not enrolled in local schools during their stay. While in HHS shelters, these children receive basic educational services from providers who run the shelters. They do not attend local public schools but are always under staff supervision. Release to sponsors. Unaccompanied children are eventually released from federal custody to an appropriate sponsor, usually a parent, relative, or family friend. These sponsors are expected to care for the children while their immigration cases proceed safely and appropriately. Once released to a sponsor, these children have the right under federal law to enroll in public elementary and secondary schools in their local communities. They are entitled to benefit from educational services just like all other children in the United States. Additional resources. Various federal programs and acts provide additional resources for these children. These include Title I services for children attending high-poverty schools, IDEA funds for children suspected of having a disability, Title III funds for educational agencies that have experienced a significant increase in immigrant students, and the McKinney-Vento Act, which provides educational rights and support for children experiencing homelessness, which may include some unaccompanied children. Duration of stay in shelters. The average duration of stay in HHS shelters is approximately 35 days before they are released to sponsors. HHS operates about 150 shelters nationwide, generally run by nonprofit organizations. These shelters provide all services for the children, including food, clothing, medical screening, and any needed medical care. Funding and oversight. The ORR is a federal agency under the ACF, which itself is a part of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. The ORR is responsible for aiding refugees and other eligible populations to help them achieve self-sufficiency and integration into American society. Challenges. The program faces various challenges, including issues related to capacity, especially during periods of increased migration, legal complexities due to the uncertain status of these children, and ethical concerns about detaining minors. Despite these challenges, the program plays a crucial role in the resettlement process, focusing on health as a key component of successful integration and self-sufficiency. In addition to the harrowing accounts we've heard concerning unaccompanied immigrant children, we face another grave issue: the mass migration traversing our borders. I posit that I have unearthed a map, a schematic of sorts. You see, these individuals crossing the border must have a destination, a mechanism for assimilation into our societal fabric. I have discovered a roadmap, a blueprint, if you will, that I urge you to scrutinize. Offer me your insights, for my preliminary observations suggest a sprawling network valued in billions of dollars. This network is not solely implicated in child trafficking, but may also serve as a clandestine military force. However, I leave that determination to your discernment. The entities in question are primarily resettlement agencies, non-governmental organizations that receive grant funding. While there are 10 primary organizations, what is particularly disconcerting are the smaller NGOs dispersed nationwide that collaborate with, subordinate to, these primary entities. I shall provide the evidence. I await your evaluations. We are not merely tasked with safeguarding the children. We are, in the most literal sense, entrusted with the preservation of our nation. Through a competitive discretionary program administration. Through a competitive discretionary process, preferred communities program grants are awarded to eligible nonprofit organizations. The current grant recipients are 9 of the domestic resettlement agencies holding agreements with the Department of State to provide reception and placement services to refugees. The resettlement agencies, in turn, administer the preferred communities programs, Preferred Communities Program through their local affiliates throughout the U.S. Reception and Placement Agency contacts for year 2023. 1. Bethany Christian Services, Church World Services, Domestic and Foreign Missionary Society, Ethiopian Community Development Council Incorporated, HIAS, International Rescue Committee, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Services, U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, Migration and Refugee Services, World Relief. NGOs and their affiliates. Welcome to the U.S. Refugee Resettlement Program. What I am about to present, in my considered opinion, is an intricate network through which billions of dollars are funneled to disperse undocumented immigrants across every state in our nation. Enclosed is a map accompanied by a hyperlink directing you to a webpage where you may explore each state's involvement individually. Now, this is a side note, and this is not necessarily coming from the author of this Substack, but this is coming from the person narrating it. If you have made it this far, when we get to the enclosed map, I encourage every single one of you to not only click on the hyperlink, share the hyperlink with your family, your friends. Heck, share it with people that you don't particularly care for. This may open up their eyes to what may or may not be happening. I share the belief of the author of the Substack. It is 100% what is happening, in my opinion. But there's only one state that has no services for this, and this is Wyoming. And God bless the the legislators and folks in Wyoming. I bet you they put a kibosh on this. Anyways, I'm going to jump back in. I shall present the evidence and leave the ensuing judgments to your collective wisdom. There's little more that needs to be articulated on my part. The issue that becomes apparent with these programs, as evident from their nomenclature, is their frequent reference to the terms refugee and immigrant. This implies that a portion, if not the entirety, of these initiatives may be involved in the processing of individuals crossing the border without legal authorization. Subsequent to their processing, prominent non-governmental organizations employ their regional affiliate entities to facilitate the dispersion of these immigrants throughout our nation. Presented below is a cartographic representation along with pertinent links delineating the extensive network of local affiliates employed by these major non-governmental organizations. The allocation of resources and funding to support these individuals, encompassing domains such as education, healthcare, and sustenance, is, in my humble estimation, a matter of considerable magnitude that warrants meticulous scrutiny. And as I said, there it is. Look, Wyoming, the only one. Nothing there. Fantastic. Here are the hyperlinks. And obviously, if you're reading along as you're watching and listening, please click on them. They will show you some information that is mind-blowing. Below, you will find a comprehensive list of the local affiliates associated with the 10 major non-governmental organizations. Arranged within a table beneath each major NGO, you will discover the affiliated NGOs that operate nationwide, aligning with the visual representation depicted earlier. The overarching aim here is to illuminate the extensive and well-coordinated nature of this system, a matter of profound disquietude. If any instances of corruption persist, as many suspect, we confront a situation where the individuals crossing the border may not undergo proper vetting procedures, instead potentially exploiting the system. Such circumstances should raise alarm bells for all concerned citizens, for this phenomenon may be aptly characterized as an invasion. A comprehensive repository of information concerning these affiliate NGOs can be accessed through the following link. Click on it. Subsequently, I will delve into the elucidation of the mechanics behind this arrangement. A comprehensive report on the ethical and security implications of the United States immigration system. A scrutiny of NGOs and government oversight. The United States of America, often heralded as a sanctuary for the oppressed and a land of opportunities, finds itself at a critical crossroads in 2023. The immigration system, a complex bureaucratic machinery designed to regulate the flow of human life across national borders, is under intense scrutiny. This report aims to dissect the intricate issues surrounding this system, focusing on the role of NGOs, such as the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, which reported a staggering budget of $145,590,522 for the year 2023. The report also examines the ethical and security implications of the current system, which has been plagued by a series of whistleblower complaints and allegations of corruption. Another link. The plight of unaccompanied minors, a whistleblower's tale. The narratives surrounding unaccompanied minors has been punctuated by the courageous acts of whistleblowers like Tara Rodas. These brave individuals have risked their careers and personal safety to shed light on the abysmal conditions that vulnerable children face within the system. Subjected to labor and sexual exploitation, these minors exist in an environment that lacks even the most basic sanitation. The cycle of abuse, which has been ongoing since 2014, is not merely a policy failure, but an ethical lapse that calls into question the very principles upon which the nation was founded. It took only 12 days to identify Tara Rodas as the whistleblower, revealing the extent to which the system is designed to suppress dissent rather than address its inherent flaws. The influx of fighting-age males, a security conundrum. While the suffering of children is undeniably tragic, the immigration system also grapples with the entry of fighting-age males. The absence of rigorous vetting mechanisms raises unsettling questions about the intentions of these individuals. Could they be agents of malevolent entities? Could they be part of organized crime syndicates or even terrorist organizations? The possibility that elements within the government might be facilitating such infiltration for nefarious reasons cannot be dismissed lightly. This issue becomes even more pressing when one considers the statistics. Thousands of children have reported abuse, neglect, or trafficking, and an estimated 85,000 children are missing. NGOs and the shadow of compromise. Organizations like the USCCB, despite their ostensibly altruistic missions, are not beyond the reach of corruption. With substantial financial resources at their disposal, the temptation for malfeasance is ever present. The lack of transparency and accountability becomes even more disconcerting when one considers the litany of infractions and crimes that have been reported, ranging from child exploitation to obstruction of justice. The cost of the Pomona Fairplex contract alone stands at $700 million for 6 months, raising questions about the allocation and oversight of such enormous sums. The ethical quagmire. A brief philosophical reflection. The situation transcends mere policy analysis and ventures into the realm of ethics and philosophy. When substantial taxpayer funds are channeled into a system fraught with exploitation and corruption, it raises profound ethical questions that challenge the moral fabric of society. The concept of justice, a cornerstone of any civilized society, is severely compromised when the vulnerable are exploited under the aegis of state-sanctioned programs. This ethical dilemma is not just a matter for policymakers, but for every citizen who contributes to the system through their taxes and civic participation. Recommendations and future directions. In light of the aforementioned concerns, it is imperative to consider actionable steps that can be taken to rectify the systemic issues plaguing the United States immigration system. The philosophical undertone here is not merely an academic exercise, but serves as a moral compass guiding these recommendations. 1. Enhanced vetting procedures. The government must implement more stringent vetting mechanisms for both unaccompanied minors and fighting-age males. This should include thorough background checks and biometric data collection. 2. whistleblower protection. Legislation must be enacted to protect whistleblowers from retaliation, thereby encouraging more individuals to come forward with crucial information about systemic abuses. 3. Transparency in NGO operations. Organizations like the USCCB must be subject to regular audits to ensure that funds are being allocated appropriately and ethically. Transparency reports should be made publicly available. Multi-agency oversight. A multi-agency task force should be established to oversee the entire immigration system, including the role of NGOs. This task force should include representatives from the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Health and Human Services, and independent human rights organizations. 5. Public awareness and civic engagement. The government should engage in a public awareness campaign to educate citizens about the complexities and challenges of the immigration system. This would serve to foster a more nuanced public discourse around immigration issues. Legal reforms. 6. Legal reforms. Laws must be amended to include harsher penalties for individuals and organizations found guilty of exploiting immigrants, especially minors. 7. International collaboration. Given that many of these issues have international implications, including human trafficking and organized crime, international cooperation is essential for addressing these challenges effectively. The dangers of 501c3 organizations in immigration, unaccompanied children, and refugee resettlement operations. The involvement of 501c3 nonprofit organizations in the operations concerning unaccompanied immigrant children and refugee resettlement is a double-edged sword. While these organizations often fill gaps left by governmental agencies, their involvement raises several ethical and operational concerns that cannot be ignored. Financial opacity. One of the most pressing concerns is the lack of financial transparency. 501c3 organizations are not required to disclose donors, which can lead to conflicts of interest and ethical dilemmas. The absence of clear financial trail makes it difficult to ascertain whether these organizations are acting in the best interests of the immigrants and refugees they serve or are influenced by external entities with their own agendas. Lack of oversight. These organizations often operate with minimal oversight, especially when compared to governmental bodies. This lack of oversight can lead to a range of issues, from financial mismanagement to more severe ethical violations, including the exploitation of the very individuals they are supposed to protect. Concealment and data manipulation. The nonprofit status of these organizations can serve as a cover for less scrupulous activities, including data manipulation or even direct involvement in human trafficking under the guise of humanitarian aid. The lack of a robust oversight mechanism can make it challenging to hold these organizations accountable. Ethical quandaries. From a philosophical standpoint, the involvement of 501c3 organizations in such sensitive areas raises questions about the privatization of what many consider to be inherently governmental functions. The state bears the responsibility for the welfare and security of its citizens and residents. Outsourcing these duties to nonprofit organizations can lead to a dilution of accountability and a potential conflict of ethical paradigms. Security risks. The lack of stringent vetting processes can also pose a security risk. While the government has established protocols for background checks and security clearances, nonprofit organizations may not have the resources or the mandate to conduct such thorough vetting. This opens the door for potential infiltration by individuals or groups with nefarious intentions, including organized crime syndicates and terrorist organizations. Recommendations. 1. Regulatory oversight. There must be a standardized regulatory framework that governs the operations of 501c3 organizations involved in immigration and refugee services. 2. Financial audits. Regular financial audits should be mandatory, and the results should be made publicly available to ensure financial transparency. 3. Ethical guidelines. These organizations should adhere to a strict code of ethics that is in line with international human rights standards. 4. Security protocols. Collaborate with federal agencies to ensure that all personnel involved in these operations are adequately vetted to mitigate security risks. Conclusions. The U.S. immigration system in its current incarnation is fraught with ethical dilemmas and security risks that demand immediate attention. The role of NGOs, despite their financial prowess and charitable missions, remains ambiguous in the absence of stringent oversight. The whistleblower complaints and the entry of fighting-age males into the country further exacerbate these concerns. As a society, we are compelled to demand transparency and accountability, not merely as a policy imperative, but as a moral obligation. The statistics, as disquieting as they are, serve as a clarion call for immediate and decisive action. The time for complacency has passed. The moment for ethical and policy reform is upon us. The very soul of the nation hangs in the balance, and the choices we make today will indelibly shape the moral and ethical landscape of America for generations to come. I'll tell you, some words just really throw me off, guys, and I apologize. The role of 501c3 organizations in immigration and refugee resettlement is a manifestation of the broader tension between public good and private interests. The ethical landscape here is fraught with complexities that challenge our societal values around justice, transparency, and communal responsibility. As we navigate this intricate moral terrain, the principles of accountability and human dignity must remain our guiding lights. While 501c3 organizations play a crucial role in addressing the humanitarian aspects of immigration and refugee crises, their involvement in... Wow. Try that again. While 501c3 organizations play a crucial role in addressing the humanitarian aspects of immigration and refugee crises, their involvement is not without risks. The lack of transparency and oversight can lead to ethical violations and security risks that have far-reaching implications. Therefore, a multifaceted approach that involves regulatory oversight, financial audits, and ethical guidelines is essential to mitigate these risks. The immigration system serves as a mirror reflecting the values and principles of a society. When that system is fraught with ethical lapses and security risks, it tarnishes the collective conscience of the nation. The concept of justice, deeply rooted in philosophical thought from Plato to Rawls, serves as the ethical foundation upon which any immigration policy should be built. The current state of affairs represents not just a failure of policy, but a failure to uphold the philosophical principles that should guide any society. Epilogue. The urgency of these issues cannot be overstated. As the nation grapples with these ethical and security challenges, the collective moral fiber is put to the test. The choices made in addressing these issues will not only determine the safety and well-being of countless individuals, but will also define the ethical legacy of this generation. It is a monumental task, but it is also an opportunity to reaffirm the principles that should guide a just and ethical society. This was written by Spartan Altsoba Patriot. Thank you so much for doing what you do. Jeremiah Bullfrog and Sparty, thank you for the research. Bearskin, what can I say, man? You do awesome work as well. And there's a lot to unpack from this, a lot of links. I suggest most, if not all of you, click on and delve into this deeper. The whole reason of putting this out there is so that we can find more information. I agree with 17 SOG, Sparty, whatever name you want to call him. He goes by a few names. I agree with his assessment. It's pretty troubling that we've got military-age men just crossing the border every day. With that, God bless, and I hope you enjoyed the audio video book version of A Nation Infiltrated, a Youth Violated. See you guys.